It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. Today I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into a prior episode when we were talking about depreciation on Ford Raptors. You know, just like anything, when you start talking about something, the likelihood of that popping into your life in a different capacity seems to be almost tenfold. I guess an example of that would be if you're thinking about a green Jeep Wrangler, for example. You start talking to somebody about that Jeep Wrangler, all of a sudden you're going to notice every single one on the road. You're going to see them on your Facebook feed. You're going to see them on Instagram. You're going to start seeing them in your everyday life much more regularly because you're aware of it, right? So when we had that conversation a couple weeks ago about Ford Raptor and the depreciation schedules, I started noticing that in my own life. I started seeing posts online about different Raptor ads for sale. I started seeing different people asking questions about why certain Raptors of certain ages are selling for certain things. And I started to dig in a little deeper and started doing a little bit more research on what that market looks like right now. So today I wanted to visit with you guys a little bit more about that specific topic. So, you know, when we start diving in here, realize that there are now 3 generations of the Ford Raptor. The first generation is going to be from 2010 to 2014. The second generation Raptor, and I'm going to kind of dive into the numbers here, started in 2017, ran through 2020. Then later in 2021, this year, the new Raptor does come out. It's going to be the generation 3. They've again changed the motor, and you'll kind of hear about more of that as we go. But what I'm looking at here are generation 1s and 2s primarily. You know, my truck right here, this is a Gen 1. I love it, it's great. I prefer this to the Gen 2. I think the first gen looks a lot more aggressive. I think that you know, the SVT team really dug into this truck and made it what they thought it should be. And I would say that Ford, you know, on the Gen 2s almost pulled back a little bit. It doesn't have as aggressive a look. And that's probably subjective, right? Everybody has their flavor. But you know, there are other things about the truck that are a little softer. It's got an EcoBoost V6, it is twin turbo, but this is a raw V8. And the new generation, the Gen 3s, are coming out with a V8. I think Ford got enough feedback that, you know, people wanted a V8 truck, they wanted to have that power, but they didn't just stop there, they went ahead and supercharged it. So it's actually the same motor, and this will be the, I believe they're calling it the Raptor R. And it's the same supercharged motor that's in the GT500. So, you know, do you need 750 horsepower in a pickup? Probably not, but it's pretty cool to have. So anyway, Ford's doing it, and it's gonna be an awesome truck. I'm really looking forward to it. Will I get one? Probably not. And if I do, it's not gonna be for a while down the line. Okay, so now let's start talking about the Gen 1 trucks, okay? Now again, 2010 to 2014. That's pretty old. You know, it's 2021 right now. So these trucks are anywhere from 7 to 11 years old. And you know, the average driver drives what? 10 to 15,000 miles a year. So that's anywhere from roughly, you know, we'll call it 70,000 to 200,000 miles, depending on how much you drive and how old the truck is. So when I started looking online, you know, again, in Facebook and Instagram and all these social media outlets, I started seeing Ford Raptors for sale. And I started reading some of the comments, and people really don't hold back. You know, people poke fun, they think that things are worth something, they don't really know. And again, it's all subjective, and that's okay. But when you really start looking at what the market has for these trucks, what people are paying, you really start to see a trend, right? And the trend is that these prices are almost ticking upwards. So I'm going to go through a couple of different places that I've looked online for these trucks. We're going to talk about how much they're selling for, what year and potential miles, not everything is listed. But we're going to talk about some trends and kind of see where we go with this. But I'm going to start with, hang tight here, I'm going to start with Facebook Marketplace. You know, I don't know what the statistic is, but almost everybody has a Facebook to some capacity, whether they use it for, you know, truly social media purposes, other people have business pages, this, that, and the other. But Facebook Marketplace is a great place to find good deals. I've bought cars, I've bought parts, I've bought all sorts of things on Facebook Marketplace. I've also used it to sell things. So it's a valuable tool. When we're looking at Ford Raptors, I'm gonna just start reading through what's local. Now, when I say local, I'm gonna start locally here in Central Oregon. And then the search does expand to the state of Oregon and throughout the Northwest. So some of these are potentially in Southern Washington or Central Washington. But here we go. So the very first one I find, and all I did was search Ford Raptor, right? 2 words, nothing more, no years, no miles, no generations, none of that. 2014, so Gen 1, SVT Ford F-150 Raptor, 139,000 miles. And this truck is selling for $34,500. Okay. The very next one I see, let's see here, is a 2011 SVT Ford Raptor, 112,000 miles, $32,000. Another one, and this one looks almost identical to mine, 2011 Ford Raptor SVT, 29,999, 145,000 miles. 2010 Generation 1 SVT Ford Raptor, 130,000 miles. Now this is a pretty decent price, 25,999. There is one 2010 with 160,000 miles for 22,700, and one more 2010 with 165,000 miles for $20,000. Now these last 3, the 25,999, the 22,700, and the 20,000, those are all just standard crew cabs. Okay, so they don't have 4 full-size doors. They're not the Super Crew. That's pretty desirable. They also have the 5.4 liter motor, not the 6.2. So those were only available in 2010. Ford did away with that motor because it wasn't quite as good. It wasn't as powerful. It didn't haul the truck the same way, and it didn't sell as well. So unfortunately, Ford discontinued that partway through the year. And you can actually have a 2010 with that 6.2. But these 3 all have 5.4s, which again is going to hinder the value. If I keep going, we can start looking at the newer generations as well. They're mixed in. But we have a 2014 with 136,000 miles for $33,000. I've got a 2012 with 82,000 miles for $35,000. I do have, let's see here, I saw second gen, I'm sorry. I saw where did it go here? 2017 F-150 Raptor with 60,000 miles, $57,000. Here's an 11 with 137,000 miles on it for $38,900. A 2011 with only 68,000 miles. That's about as low as you're going to see, especially for the age, 2011. It's 10 years old, $40,000. 17 with 52,000 miles for $54,000. A 2020 for $70,000. Now that only has 4,000 miles on it, so it's a like new truck, 2020. But $70,000. I'm not sure exactly what MSRP is. It depends on how it was optioned, but this is a pretty plain Jane truck, right? 2014 with 85,000 miles for $42,000. Here's another 2010. Oh, it's the same one. 2010, 26,000, but it's the 5.4. Let's see. Here is a 2014. This one got me pretty hard. A 2014 with 160,000 miles, $37,500. Now, when I look at these, I think to myself, for those asking prices, they have to be pretty heavily modified in a desirable way. Truth is, most of these are stock trucks. Some of them have maybe aftermarket front and back bumpers. Some of them have things like fog lights, like I just did on mine. Nothing out of the ordinary. Some of them have, rebuilt the shocks. These things have pretty high-end Fox shocks on them, and it costs a couple grand to have those rebuilt. So I suppose that might factor into your price depending on what you're after from a maintenance perspective. But $37,500 for a truck with 160,000 miles blows my mind. I mean, honestly, when I bought my truck, again, I paid $31,500. I don't know if I disclosed that in the last video. I paid $31,500 for my truck and had 85 or almost 86,000 miles on it. At the time, it was a pretty good deal, but it wasn't. I didn't have to travel far. I didn't have to go out of the state. I didn't. I found the best deal I could within reason and went with it. Now here, these prices are crazy, quite frankly. Another one here, let's see. There's several of them. I'm just kind of skimming here. 2018 with 35,000 miles, $61,000. That's a Gen 2. 2019 with 23,000 miles, $68,000. Here's a 2010, 74,000. So again, pretty low miles for the age. 36.5. The 2011 with 103,000 miles for 32,000. 2013 with 85,000 miles for 46.5. That one is supercharged. Someone did the Roush, however you want to say that, supercharger kit on there, which gives the truck a lot more power. Again, desirability. That's a modification that you probably would get your money back on when you go to sell the truck. But again, I mean, 46.5 for a truck that's got 83,000 miles on it. You'd be better off to spend 10,000 or 15,000 less for one that's got similar mileage if you can find it, and then supercharge it yourself. You know, again, there's more. Here's your 2014 with 50,000 miles for $50,000. That's not a lot less than what that truck was new 6 years ago. You know, these first gen trucks, MSRP was in the high 50s. You could have it super heavily optioned and still be, you know, under 65,000. And so to see a truck with 50,000 miles for $50,000, that didn't depreciate very much at all, right? In fact, it would have depreciated and then bounced back, which is pretty great, pretty great. And then again, the list goes on and on. Here's a 2020 brand new. It's got 300 miles, 82.5. Yeah, pretty spendy. Let's see, a 2019 with 60,000 miles for $60,000. A 17, this is a good deal. Here's a 2017 with only 24,000 miles for $58,900. So I'd say that's probably the best deal we've seen so far from a year and mileage and value, right? Value. That truck will still depreciate, so keep that in mind. If we move on, you know, let's say we shift our search to Craigslist. Now, Craigslist, you know, maybe you're not going to find quite as many on there. Craigslist is a little challenging because you get a lot of dealers that post vehicles on there, and the information you get is very minimal. So you might get a price but no mileage. You might get the mileage but no price. So, you know, again, I'll kind of skim through this real quick, and I did screenshot a few of the ones that I do want to make sure I talk about, but the very first one that comes up, it's right here locally in town. It's a 2018, it's got 36,000 miles. So it got driven. I mean, that's quite a bit of miles for a 2.5, 3-year-old truck. And they still want $68,000 for it. Here's a 2014 locally, 136,000 miles. Looks identical to mine, just white. Identical otherwise. 36,599, and it's got 136,000 miles. Here's a 2011 with 144,000 miles, $26,000. 2011, let's see, 150,000 miles. Now this truck's nice. It's got a canopy, it's got an aftermarket front bumper, aftermarket wheels and tires, you know, maybe a few other odds and ends. But 150,000 miles, and they're still asking $33,000 for it. Here's a 2018. I might retract what I said before about that really good deal on that Gen 2. Here's a 2018 with only 22,000 miles for $45,900. That's a good deal. Now that's a great deal, considering a lot of Gen 1s with literally 5 times the mileage are selling for that same price. So that's a good deal. I would say, you know, if you're after a Raptor, comment down below and I'll share the link to this one. Here's another 2018. This one's got 69,000 miles and they're asking $59,999. Another Gen 1 2012. This one has 102,000 miles, $37,700. Here's a 2018 with 28,000 miles for $65,500. So this one looks just like the other 2018 that was $45,500 or $46,500. This one has similar miles, 28,000, the other at 22, 23, but $20,000 less. could I buy that $20,000 less truck, sell it for this price? I don't know, maybe. Maybe that's what someone's trying to do here. The truck looks identical, same options, same wheels, same color, same graphics. It's just, there's a huge discrepancy, and it's interesting to me. It's actually quite fascinating. Now, much beyond that, if we start looking at other forums, other websites, the prices just vary like mad. But one thing I thought was really funny is, even people who bought these trucks are realizing what I'm telling you here. This is a quick snippet. I screenshotted this off of Facebook, but off of a Ford Raptor group. This guy just sold his truck, and this is his quick story. He says, in March of 2018, I bought a brand new 2018 Ford Raptor. MSRP $24,000, and he shows the sticker, the window sticker, 24 grand, okay? It's got options, et cetera, et cetera. In February of 21, so like 10 days ago, sold it to CarMax after 38,000 miles. And he sold it to CarMax for $56,000. So, and he shows the receipt from CarMax, the offer sheet, right? So, that's mind-blowing. He bought the truck brand new off the lot, original owner, 3 years ago. Paid 54 grand. Drove it 3 years, putting how many? 38,000 miles on it. Still sold it for $2,000 more than he paid. That is incredible, incredible. Anyway, and he did this because, if you continue reading through this particular circumstance, he sold it preemptively to put his order in on a Gen 3. So, you know what? I mean, he drove that truck for free for 3 years. That was the last episode, how to drive a supercar for free. This guy did it on accident, right? He wasn't intentionally, maybe he was, but he didn't know that in 3 years' time, the truck was going to be worth more than what he paid. Nobody knows that. But it worked out for him very, very well. So, that's a pretty cool way to quit it. Pretty cool way to look at buying a truck. Even people who buy things brand new, and we talked about this in a prior episode too, depreciation is crazy on a brand new rig. Whether it's a car, truck, van, SUV, it doesn't matter. They depreciate like crazy the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years. By year 6 or 7, they've kind of maybe bottomed out on that depreciation curve depending on the car. And in theory, you can get a pretty smoking deal. So on that same Facebook group, there's other people that read that and got the same idea. What can I get at CarMax? Or what can I sell my car for privately? Or what should I do? I want to buy a Gen 3, but I need to unload this other truck. So, this guy here, he was all jazzed because he found one from a fellow member on this particular site. He had just picked it up. Now this is the Rouge Supercharged, but it's got 79,000 miles. It's a 2014, so it's a Gen 1. He paid $37,000 and he was thrilled. He said that's the best deal he could find on this particular truck. Good for him. Here's another one in 2012 with 149,000 miles, and this guy's trying to sell it on that forum. Now this is, I don't know what the color code is called, but it's the blue Raptor of the first gen. It's a really pretty color. I personally love it. I couldn't find one for sale in my price range when I bought this one. So it's a little more rare. You're gonna see white, gray, black. Yeah, those are the silver one, that is gray. Those would be the 3 most common colors: blue, red, there's orange, and a few other obscure colors too. Special orders and things that they're a little more rare. This particular one is that blue, so he could probably get a little premium for that. But he's asking $35,000. It's got 149,000 miles. It does have light bars. It's got some aftermarket wheels and tires and front bumper. This guy's got a really low mileage. It's 2012. He's got 53,000 miles on it. So again, didn't get driven a whole heck of a lot. 9 years old. He's actually selling it to buy a Corvette. So good for him, I guess. I don't know. But his whole thing is he's asking $39,900. Does he need that much? Yeah, probably if he's trying to buy a new vet, but I don't know, again, if he's gonna get it, it's a little high to me. Good mileage price though. Okay, so here's one that got laughed off the forum. This one was hilarious to me, and I'm really glad I screenshotted it because within an hour or two, it was gone. Someone had deleted it, or this guy deleted it himself. But he had a heavily modified 2019 performance Raptor. And when he says performance, It basically has some aftermarket parts that are supposed to make it better for jumping and stuff like that. But if you read the description here, it says, this is the best and most fun vehicle I've ever owned. I've never had any problems with it. It has never been off-road. Not that there's a problem with that. I've never taken mine off-road, really. I mean, gravel roads and things like that, but I've never taken it four-wheeling yet. But this guy spent all this money on aftermarket parts to make it super off-road capable, more so than it came from the factory. It's got 80,000 miles, and he's asking $70,000. So he got laughed right off there. People were commenting so many negative things. I felt really bad for the guy, but they weren't wrong, right? I mean, these people are basically calling the guy out for trying to rip somebody else off. I mean, there's no way that truck's worth that. I mean, if his truck with 80,000 miles is worth 70 grand, my truck with 95,000 miles has got to be worth 50, right? No, no, it's not. So yeah, the list does go on and on. There's more for sale here, and you know, it's mind blowing to me because, again, you know, I wanted to talk a couple episodes ago about these trucks hitting the bottom of the depreciation curve and then slowly going up. They appear to have just V'd right out of that. You know, depreciation curve is not so much of a curve, it's like a V, right? It came down to a point, literally, and stopped, and has gone back the other way. And so if you can find a low mileage, well kept, you know, mine's filthy right now, I'm sure you can tell that with the glare and things, but, you know, other than a good detailing, this truck is in tip-top shape. And if I wanted to sell it, I now assure myself I can sell it for more than I paid. So, you know, and I've put almost 11 or 12,000 miles on the truck. So, you know, not quite like this guy where he sold it for 2,000 more after driving it for 38,000 miles. But, you know, I might get there. I might put 30,000 miles on this truck and still be able to get what I paid or close to it. And, you know, I obviously count that as a win. So, you know, I guess with this new Gen 3 coming out, things have changed a little bit in the Raptor arena. You know, when the 2s came out, these things kind of stopped appreciating because people who wanted the V8 were going to buy one of these used. They couldn't get one new. They stopped making them in 14, and it wasn't until 16 that they announced the 17 EcoBoost. So at that point, you know, again, they stopped appreciating, and you know, you just couldn't find one for under, like I said before, about $30,000. If you find them below 30 today, they either have, as we saw, 150,000 or more miles. They probably need maintenance work, or they have that 5.4 liter V8, which wasn't as good as the 6.2. So there's a reason that they're cheap, if they're cheap. Otherwise, you know, you kind of get what you pay for in this regard, especially. You know, you can skimp. You know, mine has navigation, mine has touchscreen, all that stuff. You could buy these trucks without that. Well, when the Gen 2 rolled around, they didn't strip that stuff out. I mean, you couldn't buy a bare bones, you know, truck with roll-up windows and a dial on the radio. Everything's electronic and touchscreen and fancy and heated and, you know, the whole nine. And that's why the MSRPs went up too. And, you know, a lot of people either want it or don't care, I suppose. But when you were building one of these trucks out 10 years ago, you could spec, you know, I want the technology package, and I want the heated leather seats, and I want this, and I want that, and I want blue accents or red or gray or, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, so when you go to resell it, again, having those desirable options is important. So I guess what it circles back to is if you're in the market for a Ford Raptor, look pretty hard. You know, don't find the closest one to you because it's probably not the best deal. I mean, as I saw, there's trucks that are in the $20,000 to $25,000 range. They may not have the motor I want, they may not have the 4 doors the way I want them, but if I need to get into a Raptor one way or another, that's a really inexpensive way to do it. If I want to have 4 doors and I want to have it in this color and I want that option and I want, you know, these miles, you know, be prepared to write a pretty good sized check, but do your homework before you do, right? Make sure that you know I'm getting a good deal. You could likely, even though prices have come back and are actually going up, you could still likely buy one today, drive it for a while, and sell it for what you paid, or get real close to that. And that's kind of my goal here. I don't plan to sell this thing, probably ever. I mean, who knows, maybe one day I do the V8, the Shelby V8 and this thing with the supercharger, you know, maybe I do an engine swap when it needs it. I don't know. But I love the truck. I want to keep it, I plan to keep it. And to me, it's great to know that I have an appreciating asset in the garage when, you know, in a world of uncertainties, the stock market's going up and down every day, right? We don't know what tomorrow holds. And so when you can buy a vehicle that does not lose value, you win. So I'll close with that. Thank you again for watching. Like always, please like, subscribe, comment down below. If you have any questions, concerns, you're also able to email me. But thank you guys for hanging in there. Thanks for listening. And like always, again, make sure every investment you make is a good one.